Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here. I just wanted to record a quick intro. Last night, Jake from Pokénomics and I did a live chat. We did a Q&A with respect to our Patreon. So I recently partnered with Jake on his Pokénomics Patreon. We'll be doing a monthly stream. I won't get into too many details here because we did a 2-hour Q&A about what we talk about on the Patreon, what the expectations are for it, and we have a live event this Sunday, a Zoom chat that we do on a monthly basis. But if you have any questions, if you don't want to listen through the whole 2-hour video, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll answer any questions you have about why I'm getting into a Patreon with him and what we do in there. And I just want to let everyone here know, no pressure on joining it. If you like what you hear and you feel like it'll bring value to you, feel free to go on over and subscribe and you can get a little more content of me there. But I don't intend to remove anything and put it behind a paywall from what I'm doing here on this YouTube. I will still be posting my 3 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, off podcast weeks, and on podcast weeks, I'll be posting Monday, Thursday as normal. So yeah, feel free to leave your thoughts or comments below if you've got any questions. And what we do there is we just go into a lot deeper dive on certain things that don't really suit themselves well to the YouTube platform, I don't think. So yeah, I said I wasn't to describe what I was going to do, but I'm going to cut right now. I'll catch you all later. We're going to cut over to our about 2-hour live chat we had with Jake last night. So thanks for watching.
All right. Yeah, so I'm here with my friend and partner here, Dan, tonight. And the purpose, so we were actually just gonna shoot a video, a non-live, just recorded video of the two of us just talking about our partnership in this project and also just a little bit about what's been going on with Patreon and some of our plans for the future. But we decided to do a little bit of an audible and do it live instead, so we can more directly answer people's questions if there are any. The other thing that we wanted to do was have a place for people to ask us questions about the Patreon. So like on this video will be, it's live on my channel right now, and then it will be on Dan's channel for his viewers as well. And so if people have any questions about, really trying to get a sense of like, is this worthwhile for you? Is this something you want to do? It can be a place where you can reach us and get those questions answered. So there may be some questions there. People may not have that many questions, which is okay too. And then we can end up just hanging out and talking to people for an hour. That's kind of how I felt about it. But definitely wanted to give people an opportunity to ask stuff. So Dan, anything that you want to say on any of those notes before we jump into a little spiel?
Yeah, I guess just to talk a little bit about an upcoming event with the Patreon. This Sunday, we'll be going into our live Zoom chat that we have monthly at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And the way that those live discussions go, it's kind of an open discussion. I think the last couple times they've been a few dozen people. And for this one Sunday, I'm actually going to be bringing a little bit of a presentation kind of on print run estimates throughout the history of the TCG. So I think that there's a lot of assumptions that need to be made and there's a lot of guesswork involved in it, but I think it definitely will hopefully be interesting for people. So yeah.
Yeah. And as you went through the numbers and told me a little bit about it, some surprises. It's always great to dig into the numbers, because sometimes our instincts, just from being in the hobby a while, like, often I think that they tend to be pretty right because we just have seen so many of these boxes in different sets over time that we kind of get a sort of intuitive sense of, and we study the pop report so much that we sort of get a sense of how much of this stuff is out there. But I think particularly for modern stuff, which we're going to be covering too, and some estimates on modern sets, it's interesting because so little is back from PSA. It's interesting to kind of dig into how many alternative arts do we think there are, right? Like these types of questions, how many do we think they're going to be printed, and how do those numbers compare to things like gold stars, or things that have maybe similar pull rates, but are sort of older sets. So yeah, so should be good for people. So yeah, so we do. So I guess on the Patreon as it stands right now, we have our so we've started a Discord where Dan and I are going to be like hopping in, engaging in a discussion. Sometimes we're going to try to like figure out some like fun, hosty nights to do there, where we're looking at auctions together, talking about prices live, that type of stuff. If you like that sort of thing and are interested in that. It's also a place where people are getting to know each other. I think part of the goal of all of this is for people to also meet and network and engage with each other, both content creators and or buyers and sellers, which I think is all valuable for people. And then part of what I think will be nice about the Discord, or my hope, is that people will get to know each other and get a little more comfortable, which will allow people to also feel more comfortable in the lives speaking and engaging with you and I and with each other, where it's a little bit of like a collaborative thing where we hear a lot of different voices and a lot of different opinions. I think in the future, there's all sorts of things that we can do with that, with breakout rooms, debates, and all of that stuff is also going to have to do with like the size the Patreon gets, how many people are interested in those sorts of things. So, but as of now, where things stand is we do like analytics where we do a breakdown of some sort of topic. So in the past, we've done population reports of every set. We've done prices of every set versus the price of every key card. I'm starting to do a segment where I talk about non-Pokemon TCG or CCG or just collectible trading card that maybe not a lot of people know about that I think is interesting. And then we do a question and answer, a live question and answer, where other people also get to answer and engage in the discussion. So it's not just us. We generally start with our answers, but then other people can chime in and it can become a little bit of a discussion. So I guess that's sort of where that is right now. Anything else to add before maybe we go to some questions if people have them?
Yeah, I think the big draw, at least for me, and I hope other people find it useful too, but like I'm a big consumer of Pokemon content on YouTube, and I mean some other Patreons as well. I think there's a lot of useful information out there, but I think it's something fairly unique that we're doing here with the large Zoom call with the live back and forth. There's a lot of great information out there that you can just sit there and take in, but it is really useful when you might get a little bit of debate on the spot live and get that back and forth, hear different perspectives from people with different opinions, different takes on things, and different experiences, and like different knowledge focuses.
Absolutely. And I guess, a little bit of our backgrounds, if there is anyone kind of watching this who doesn't know who we are, we could probably share that a little bit. Dan, what's been your sort of background in the Pokemon community, buying, selling, collecting?
Yeah, so I guess a quick rundown of my history. 7 years ago, I got back into it around Phantom Forces, and I started as a collector, and pretty quickly I got into I think the optimal way to collect is to do a little bit of buying and selling, and then that just kind of ballooned to where 2 months ago I quit my job and I'm doing this full time now. And I started off with English sets, kind of like the natural re-entry point for a lot of people. So hitting that nostalgia, picking up all the sets I had in as a child, but picking them up in first edition, getting them graded and all that. And I opened one box from every set that I had missed along the way. And once I completed all my goals along the set cards a few years ago, then I delved into the world of Japanese promos and trophies, and I've been I've been through all different corners of the hobby, but there's still things. Jake has a much deeper knowledge on some of the really niche stuff that I still learn new things. Seems like every week, but from the business side, like I transact in both the vintage stuff, and then I'm also like tapped in through distributors, so I keep up with the modern releases and transact with all those as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a process of like learning, and I'm still learning different things. Although I feel like a lot of my focus these days is also really studying a lot of other markets, a lot of other collectible markets. I guess I feel like that's what I bring to this Pokemon space is someone who at this point is pretty well versed in a number of different markets that I don't think a lot of people in this space know about, that I can sort of compare and contrast to what's happening here and give sort of a broader picture of what's happening in all non-sports cards, which I think is very important, and also broader sort of economic, psychological, philosophical type discussions around broader topics related to how to think about investing your money, how to think about collecting, how to make the decisions around that isn't necessarily like buy these 5 exact cards now. That's more around what to look for, how to develop those sorts of skills. Although, I mean, we do talk about specific cards and specific sorts of things, but generally it's to try to teach a lesson or demonstrate some sort of point, so that people can see how we make our decisions and why we do what we do, and where that is successful, both from a collector's perspective and also from a investor or financial perspective. So, all right. So let's see. So yeah. So if anyone has any questions about the Patreon, let us know. And if not, we can go back to that a couple of times. I mean, we can just like hang out and talk to you guys. Or you can, as we said before, like leave it after the video.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any Patreon specific questions yet.
Okay. Well, it's nice to see all of you guys. Thanks for hanging out. You say Booyah, Chris Turner, Manny, JK120, Jody, Thrifty. A lot of familiar names. Yeah. So how's your night going, Dan? So far, we were talking before we came on just about. We're a little on the tired side, a little on the sleepy side tonight.
Yeah, on my channel, I do a podcast with Old School Pokemon every other week, and we had some guests on last night. It always ends up being lately like a 2-hour video, and we do a couple hours pre-record, an hour post-record. Went to bed at like 3 a.m.
How was the conversation?
It was really good.
Yeah.
It was with Crystal Pokemon and Pallet Town Pallet Town TCG. Nick had met them before at Collecticon, one of the conventions, and I had met them for the first time. So it's kind of along the same lines as this Patreon. It's just really cool to meet new people in the hobby, discuss and engage, get the different perspectives, hear other people's stories. And there were times just naturally throughout our conversation where we were talking about something and, oh, hey, I didn't know that was a feature that you could do on eBay, or you just pick up value that you don't even expect to get from other people, just naturally talking about the hobby and how you engage with it. And yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's both my favorite content to make and listen to. It's just having discussions with people who've just been here a long time.
Same
Um,
here.
yeah, yeah. I am trying to pepper in some of those shorter videos too. How's that been going for you on your channel? Trying to figure out like a rhythm with the types of content that you like to make and that are enjoyable for people who are watching.
Yeah, so I've been getting flooded with returns right now, which is a good thing. I mean, I just quit my job, so it's good that I have inventory to sell to run the business. But I want to make more than just the graded card return videos. For now, that's what I'm making because they're there and I think it's interesting to a lot of people. But with my channel, I just kind of try to follow how I uh, follow my day to day in the hobby, how I transact, what I'm buying, what I'm selling. I hope that provides value to people. Just kind of break down my thoughts. I'm never gonna really say like buy the like you said, buy these 5 cards guaranteed stonks. It's more just I'm buying these for these reasons. If you think it makes sense, I mean, if not, that's fine too. I mean, but yeah, there's a lot of video ideas I have noted down somewhere
Yeah.
that I think could provide value to not just flippers, investors, but like collectors too. Because as I said, when I started as more of a strictly collector, I think the optimal way to get the best price on a given card that you want to buy, a lot of those fundamentals kind of, whether you're buying as a collector, investor, business, flip, or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Like getting the best price is a universal thing that's good for everybody.
Yeah.
And same thing on the selling side, whether you're a collector that's moving on from some piece and you only sell one thing a year, or you're a business that sells $100,000 worth of stuff a month, the same fundamentals apply
Mm.
as far as like optimizing. There's so many these days. There's so many different platforms, so much going on, and knowing the right time and the right way to sell, the right platform to use to sell and buy is just, there's a lot to it, I think.
Yeah, it's constantly evolving. It's
Yeah.
it's so different now. Like the ways to make money now and the things to do right now are very different than yeah, or at least the things that unfortunately a lot of the ways that I like to do it have disappeared or just are not viable. And the level of risk that a lot of my friends are taking on like grading a lot with CGC, including yourself, but many others, is something that isn't attractive to me because of the amount of like time, like effort and how long that stuff might hold, like how long it might take to sell. And I'm just concerned that there's going to be so many graded cards coming back from CGC and PSA of like, we were just talking to, Zakil and Chris about it over, Rainy Day Collectibles. Um, he sent in a ton of, similar to your Pikachu, he sent in a ton of Ancient Muse, and just like a number of them are like, CGC 6s and 5s, and he thinks he'll still like double his money on them after everything because of the price point that he got into. And I'm just not sure how sustainable that is for how long. But I'm likely wrong. I think there's probably still time, and there's still room in a lot of these cards and that sort of low end stuff. It's just not a very attractive thing for me. I think also because I'm more of a collector, and so for me, an investor or longer term. So I look for things that I think have really great value that might be undervalued or that are sort of key items, and I want to hold them for a while or get them at really good prices and sort of hold them for a while. Or I want to buy large lots and then flip the sort of cheaper elements of it, and then keep some of the more premium stuff. Like those were always sort of the two things that I would look for. So seeing an inefficiency in the market, for example, where I could buy like 1,000 of this promo for $5 and then sell each one for like 20 after $7, or $9 grading fees. So I'm going to be making like after shipping and fees, like $2-3 a card or whatever. And he's making more than that, but like that type of thing. Although it's like, yeah, you're going to make like, you could make a couple $1,000 if you do that in volume. It also seems kind of a little risky and scary to me to depend on that or to work within that sort of thing. But I think it also has to do with the fact that I just haven't done it. So it's sort of a comfort thing, that type of kind of like a low end volume.
Yeah. And you're not doing this full time, right? So you have a much more limited amount of time.
Yes.
You need to go for the bigger margin stuff, a different kind of play, right?
Yeah. And I think it's enjoyable to me too, because a lot of it's about enjoyment and not just about like how I'm going to make the most money or that type of return, even though I think it's interesting to talk about, like, I like talking about that sort of thing, but I'm not necessarily, I didn't become a social worker because I saw that I was going to make a lot of money. So lots of times in life, I prioritize sort of enjoyment or what means something to me over the return or over the money I'm going to make. Yeah. All right. So let's see if there's some questions now.
I think we do. Yeah, I think we had a couple.
Some or comments too about the Patreon. Looks like some more people are starting to join.
Yeah. Jason,
so for people who are just coming in, I'm sorry, Dan. We're just kind of having just a casual conversation because there were no questions about the Patreon at that time. But as if you have questions or are interested, is this Patreon something for you? Is this something that you would like to do, or whatever? We're sort of an open book around it.
Yeah, Jason B had mentioned he likes how we change the time of the Patreon streams around so others can join, because it's a worldwide hobby, right? There's people in all different time zones.
So it's something that next month we're planning on doing another poll where we're going to ask everyone in the Patreon to give us all the times that not necessarily the best time for you, but that could work for you. And then what we're going to try to do is just get a sense of what are some like the 2 or 3 biggest times that work for the most people, and then try to schedule them. Then we're still going to be shifting the time each month because it allows, as Dan said, it's going to allow people from Australia or from Europe or from the East Coast or West Coast, all very different time zones to take part in it. And then some people work on Sundays. Some people, have other obligations on Sundays. Some people work Sunday nights. Some people work Sunday days. So it's the downside of trying to do live interactive stuff, is that trying to figure out what's going to work for everyone's schedule. So now everyone can watch. All the videos are recorded, and so people can then watch them. You don't have to be at the live to be there, and you get to ask us questions beforehand for those who can't be there. So you still get your questions answered. It's just, I think for people who like that sort of thing, we want to make it so that as many people who do want to come and actually engage, and it's more fun for us. We want to talk to people and hang out with people that they can make it.
Yeah.
So Jordan Matoma says, so if I'm not mistaken, there's only 1 slot left for the cheapest chair. Is that true? So that if that looks like that, it's not true. So I have given some thought, and Dan and I have talked, if this Patreon continues to be successful and people like it and want to stay, and then also if it's valuable for people, and then also if it continues to grow, how big do we want it where it's going to become not as enjoyable or as good because there's going to be too many questions, or there's going to be too many people on the live stream to really interact and have that intimate discussion, which we want to have. And so I can imagine closing it off at some point. I don't know what that number is going to be like. It's also going to, for Dan and I, it's going to be a process of figuring out what percentage of people actually ask questions and come to the live versus just want to consume the content. So if it's a very low percentage of people who really want to come to the lives and ask questions and engage every month, and it's a much larger percentage of people who just want to hang out in the Discord community, who want to see the analytics, which are going to be, I think particularly for anyone who's hasn't been in this game 5 to 10 years, it's going to be a lot of stuff you've never seen before, I imagine, and it's going to hopefully be organized in a way that's a lot more useful and for people where they're just going to be able to, and we're going to work on this over time. We're on Discord. You're going to be able to like pull up these documents, these types of things so it's easier for you to refer to. I refer to these documents all the time actively. As I'm like, I don't remember exactly how many of that trophy card was in distribution. So I go look it up too. So there's also another thing that we're working on that I'm working on with some people, which is it's going to be analytics tracking. It's going to track a lot of data for people. That's going to be very useful, hopefully, and that's going to be rolling out a little bit to just in sort of a beta form to some Patreon members at some point soon. But eventually, that you don't have to sign up for Patreon to use that. Eventually, that's something that I think I would be more, maybe we'd share with everyone, or we're still kind of tinkering with it and seeing how best to use it. But so I don't know why I would say that. So there's the $5 tier, which was just for people who like signed up to my Patreon before I even offered anything.
The $10 tier is showing sold out for me right now.
Oh, really? I bet some people just joined. That's probably why.
The $10 tier shouldn't sell out though, right?
So it forces me to like put a thing. Yeah, a bunch of people just joined from this. That's what. Okay, sorry guys. No, it's not meant to be sold out, and no, we're not going to raise the price on you as soon as that sells out. This is just hold on. I'll open it back up. So they have me like put a number. So a long time ago, I just put a number in. No, so so we're about at 180-ish, I think, patrons, like somewhere in there, 170 something patrons. And I don't see us closing it before like probably 400 or 500, unless it gets super unruly, and then we might have to change our sort of strategy. So that's just stuff that like Dan and I will like strategize, and we also want constant feedback as it grows from people. Like that's the goal, is to get constant feedback from people. So hold on, let me open this. Any other questions or anything you see, Dan?
Yeah, I just got skipped to the bottom of the chat. This is finicky.
That will happen. Let's see here.
So yeah, somebody said I've heard Jake talk about it before, but any short-term / long-term plans for the Patreon, Discord hangout nights, Patreon access to modern product? I can think of a few other possibly neat ideas. So as Jake mentioned, we actually did the Golden, what was it, last Friday or Saturday? The Golden and PWCC premieres ended on the same night. So we just hopped in the Discord call, and there was several of us in there just watching the items close and kind of talking about them. It would be nice, and we kind of talked about potentially sharing a screen, but I was bidding on so much that I couldn't really.
Dan and I were my bidding. Dan was a winner. Dan won some items. I unfortunately lost on everything I bid on, but that happens.
That EX set too, that ended up being a master set. I forget if I told you. I told a couple people, but
yeah, you told me on Discord. That's I thought you were going to be a big loser on that. Turns out I'm a loser. As long, particularly if those cards are like nines and tens, a lot of them,
Many are mint. I haven't gone through the whole thing completely, but many are mint.
It's so fun. That's so fun. That's like, it's not even like, it's so fun to buy a collection like that, and you're not exactly sure what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And then you look through it and you're like, oh my God, it's minty, it's fresh, and there's reverse holo of everything. Yeah. Those are great feelings.
Yeah. It's going to make for a fun video when sometime next week, I'll probably post a video on that and just talk about buying from like the real auction houses, because it's a very different experience than buying on eBay.
Yeah. So Dan and I have talked about like what other things we could eventually offer to people, whether that would be, so I, so things that other people do, right? Like they sell product to people. They do consignments. Those are kind of the two like big areas that I'm seeing other people do. I don't see us doing either of those things at the moment or for the foreseeable future. Maybe consignments from Dan, if that's something that Dan chooses or wants to do. I think the issue is like offering competitive pricing that makes any sense. Like we're not going to start a business or offer anything that that doesn't competitively make sense for you when there are going to be already better options for you from bigger places, bigger people, these types of things. So now what we might do is like once in a while offer something for free, like that is like, that's purely just an appreciation thing where you're basically paying cost for something, whether that's a service from Dan, service from me, or some product or something like that. I mean, now nothing is set in stone. So all of that stuff is something that we can constantly have a discussion with people, but I can absolutely promise you that Dan and I are very, very committed to only doing things and selling things and providing things that make competitive sense for people to do. and we're not interested in offering services that are worse than other services that are already out there, if that makes sense, for a more expensive price. So
yeah, the big issue with modern right now is like everyone loves the idea of it because modern is so hard to get.
Yeah.
I foresee us in the future, 1 year, 2 years, whenever it may be, I foresee a future where booster boxes are $99.99 on eBay again. And the day that comes, people aren't going to want them so much anymore, because naturally when the prices are high, people want to buy because it's exclusive, hard to find product. And when it's readily available, there's already some guys that do that really massively. So catching up to their pricing, you'd have to, for several months or years, you'd have to build up to get to their pricing level.
Yeah.
Via a non-competitive price. I mean, yeah, it's a big hurdle to overcome to catch up to the Rudies and the Danny Phantoms.
Yeah, it's just not a model that makes sense for us or for you guys, at this point. So, but what I imagine is more like we do it maybe, a little, and we basically sell at cost, and maybe we open a box together or something on Discord of every new set. Dan and I have talked about ideas of maybe, every time a new set comes out, we open a box together on Discord and we talk about the cards and like what people like, what do we think about the set, and just have like a fun night in conversation about it. I think something like that could just be enjoyable. So. But yeah, we're open. They do GMS. We're open to like, any ideas. This Dan guy is not Rafi. No, so Dan, unlike Rafi, who has three, well, Dan also has kids, but Rafi has 3 kids, including a newborn, and has a very, very full-time job where he works at a company that demands a lot from him as a head of a team there. It's just not, he just doesn't have the time to be a part of this and really grow it and give it the time and energy that it deserves. But Rafi's like, he'll definitely be making appearances on the Patreon whenever he wants. He's always like invited to come hang out and do anything. And Rafi's Rafi, for those who don't know, Rafi and I started this channel together, and Rafi is someone who is, one of my girlfriend's best friends from high school, and someone who became my friend over the past couple of years as well. And it's just not his goal to run any sort of Pokemon business or to be really a part-time content creator, or as serious as this sort of became. So in in the beginning, Rafi and I just started this just to hang out. We didn't know if anyone would watch it, and it was really just because we love talking about this stuff, and we had more time because of COVID. So that's how it sort of evolved over time. Yeah. So Dan is someone who I, have met in the community, and is someone who I just is really knowledgeable. I think we have similar values and similar ideas about like what we want to do. And yeah, someone who I just trust is a huge thing for me, and doing anything with someone else is just like having some similar values and sort of similar goals.
And I think it's good that we're aligned in certain ways, but it's also like we have different experiences and we interact with the hobby differently. So we have like diversity and kind of a broader knowledge base, which is good, because if we were too similar in every way, right, we'd just be clones of each other and it wouldn't be as useful. So I think we have a dynamic knowledge base, I guess.
That's absolutely true, and also just as far as and the fact that you're going full time now, is good, and becoming a full time seller and flipper is gonna, you're gonna learn a lot from that and be able to pass that on to people. I think too, there's just too much work. I mean, I have a 60-hour a week gig outside of this, 50, 60-hour a week, and particularly now that I'm have extra stuff to do for that. So it's just not doable to like, I was feeling bad because like I would get all of these messages and I just was like not able to respond to them. So it's things like that too, of just if we want to grow this and make it really sustainable and better for people, it's just something that it really needs more than one person, or certainly more than one person who isn't doing it full time.
Mm-hmm. Manny asked, how frequently do you think you will adjust the monthly Patreon times? Kind of like alternating late and early every other month.
Yeah, late, early, and maybe a middle sometimes. Yeah, type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Felix F asks, maybe it's a question that people already know the answer to, but what kind of things are usually discussed in Patreon Q&A that aren't publicly out here? Or is it more about the ability to ask? It's a good question. So I think that a lot of it is similar. A lot of it's going to be the same, but I do think that people feel more comfortable there and also ask more specific and direct questions and are able to actually speak them rather than type them. And then also ask follow-up questions where we have actual discussions around it. So instead of like here where I'm terrible at reading the chat, I mean, I do my best, but basically I like, you write a question and then I answer it for like 20 minutes and I ramble on and on. No, but I try to give a really full answer, and I, share everything I know, and I, try to give all that information. By the time I'm done, I'm like 15, 20 minutes, I'm way, you might have had 3 or 4 follow-up questions or all sorts of things that I wasn't able to answer that are somewhere buried in the chat that I'm never going to see because I'm all the way up. So I think it's actually quite a bit more value and quite a bit more structure in that sense. As far as the questions being similar or different, the questions that I get in Patreon are definitely more detailed. It's also people I think have a while to think about them, and they're often, and I get them beforehand. So if I don't know something, I will look it up or research it to have a better idea. So I think all of those, and make it different. But the main thing is that it's a discussion, and that you're also going to hear from other people. Like, last month we had, Sub F, Nate in the chat with us, who has excellent knowledge on a number of trophy cards. And it was great to get his follow-up opinion, as well as like a number of other people in the community were sharing opinions too that were great. And, we had some people showing some really awesome trophy cards, some of the cards we were talking about, and that was really cool. A little bit of the, eye candy. And so to me, I really like that, just for me personally, so much more than the live streams where it's just me talking. And this way I can actually see your faces on camera and I can actually hear your voices. It's just a very different experience. So Yeah. What do you think, Dan, about that? Versus like the way, and we're gonna still work on in ways of improving that and figuring out, because as more people come on, there's going to be an issue of like speaking time, right?
Mhm.
Like our last chat went maybe 4 hours or something when it's only usually supposed to go 3. And it was because we just had like a lot of people had comments and we want to hear from everyone. And so I think that we're gonna have to be tinkering with ways of finding the balance between, you know, having everyone speak, but also being timely and on point and these types of things. And it's just going to be, you know, process. I'm a therapist who runs a lot of groups, so I have a lot of experience with that. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I think you hit everything pretty well. You do your weekly lives where you answer people's questions, but it's a bit more limited. I do every other week the podcast thing where we answer questions, but in both cases, like you said, they ask it in text format, we answer it, and there's no back and forth. It's just our answer. It's not bounced off of other people, not really like face to face, but through video. So to me, that's something that I really value, and I really enjoy these chats. It feels like we're in person as much. What's been going on the past year and a half, right? It's about as much connection as you get these days in some cases. So
Yeah. And I think the analytics portion is like nothing on our channels. And it takes a long time to do and a lot of research on our part. And it can spark really good discussion, which doesn't happen on our live. So we can provide a lot of data and then have discussions based off of that. So it's sort of like there's sort of a lecture-ish period where we're sharing information and then a discussion and response around that. So I think in all of those ways, it's a better model, but it's a model that also requires a lot more preparation and work and effort. So
mhm.
on both of our parts. No, it's a great question, Felix. That's the type of question we would love people to ask. So like if you're, you know, like, you know, I mean, Dan and I say like, why, you know, we need to make this worth it for people. So there's a lot of free content out there, right? So why should people pay for this? You know, is the type of question we were also looking for from people. You know, it's like, why, if people really feel that, why is this worth it? And for what person is this worth it over just, you know, enjoying the free content that's out there, all the free sort of financial investment talk, you know? Old school in the chat.
Yeah, Nick and Pallet Town are in.
Hey, Pallet Town.
We're all running on low sleep.
Yes, I was up all night last night, so. But we're doing it. What's Trey says, as soon as I actually engage in the graded hobby again, I will definitely join the Patreon. Just buy my time for now. Yeah. And we're not going to raise the prices, so no rush. Okay.
We do ask, how are the themes of the Patreon lives decided? Could the patrons have a multiple choice vote on the primary topic? Definitely open to suggestions. I mean, if you guys have anything you're looking for, feel free to suggest it. And I kind of put together the Discord and I'm running it. I'm in a few, but I've never run one, so I'm learning this as I go. But I could definitely look into. There is a suggestions forum in there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is I think Discord is going to be a really good place for people to do that, and to suggest things and to suggest specific topics for analytics or specific card games that you want us to cover or other sorts of things. So. We definitely, the goal is to do a variety. Like we're going to be talking a lot about modern. We're going to be talking a lot about the middle generations. We're going to be talking a lot about the vintage. We're going to be talking a lot about high end. We're going to be talking a lot about low end. I do think that I'm always a little anxious talking about low end for a variety of reasons, that we don't have to get into right now, but something, we can talk about later. But I'd like to have those discussions more. And so I think bringing that into Patreon and, talking about, and I also think having days where we talk more from a collector's perspective, like what are the most valuable things for collectors? And we, spend a little bit of time away from the financial and think more just about like, these items are really good looking and really enjoyable. These are things you might enjoy. There are lots of ways that we can take it, depending on what people are interested in. Yeah. Steve A said, "Is this stream just an advertisement for the Patreon?" Yeah. Mostly. I mean, we're also gonna. We thought if people like didn't have questions, we would just kind of like open it up to more general questions. But the main goal was to just give people an opportunity to ask us questions about the Patreon to see if it's something that they would be interested in. So yeah. Hopefully that doesn't offend you.
Yeah, it's something, I mean, Jake's had it running for a while now, and I've joined on recently, but it's not something that he's trying to shove down your throats on his channel, and it's something that I haven't talked about yet on mine. So when I post this tomorrow on mine, it will be kind of the first introduction, and I'm not going to really try to just turn my YouTube into an advertisement for it. I definitely want to provide interesting content on my YouTube as well. But like Jake said, the longer discussions just provides you so much more ability to like dig deeper into more useful and interesting content, I think, because YouTube isn't really, when you start throwing up hour-long, 2-hour-long videos, drilling into really specific data, I don't think that's the ideal kind of content for YouTube.
Yeah. And I think, the reality is this is the only place that we can advertise. Because unfortunately with the Patreon model, like there is no advertising on Patreon. Patreon doesn't advertise for you. And so this is sort of our only place that we can advertise for ourselves. But our value system is very much of like, we want to advertise something that we think certain people will actually like and get great value from. And yes, I think that at $10 for the amount that we're planning, and if you're, and I've said this before, and Mason gave me a hard time for saying this, but if someone else were to start this, I would be signing up for it. Let me put it that way. I would be getting way more than $10 worth of value as someone who buys a lot and invests and is interested in this hobby, and I want to keep my ear to the ground. I would be getting way more than $10 of value for this with the amount that I spend. So I don't know how many of me there are, right? Like that we're going to find out, a little bit on this Patreon, but there are a certain number of people, I think. And so that's what this really is for. This is not going to be for people who are probably more casual or looking for more like entertainment around, pack openings and things like that. We are going to try to do some of that and bring some of that into it, but that's not really, the central focus. The central focus is going to be like community engagement, having conversations, and then kind of knowledge and sharing knowledge, sharing ideas. Yeah.
So Pabmeister said, "I understand that life gets in the way sometimes, but how do you foresee yourselves committing to doing this long-term and consistently? How will you split the responsibilities between each other?" So for me, the answer is easy. Pokemon is my job. So this is, for me, family comes before job, but still job is like number 2. So I'm definitely going to be very committed to this, and I've been in it 7 years now, and I anticipate being in it much longer than the next 7. Love the hobby, love everything about it, love being able to talk about it. So yeah, I'm definitely here for the long haul, and I get that sense from Jake too.
Yeah, part of what I really like about Dan, and I think that we kind of connected on, is I feel like we're both committed people and steady and decent at riding sort of ups and downs and waves. And so I think that, there's going to be a lot of noise, and there's going to be a lot of people starting businesses and doing all sorts of things, over the next few years. And we're here to just create something that we feel is good, that we feel proud of, that we feel good about, and that is sustainable for us. Okay. And for the community. And so we're trying to figure out a price point that is sustainable for people as well as sustainable for us, for the amount of effort and time. And we have numbers in mind of like how many patrons I'm hoping to get to at some point, for example, where the amount of work versus the amount of money of return we're getting for this works really nicely for us, where we're not getting rich off of this, but we're also, we're not going to feel burned out or resentful of it. I think what's really important in your work or in whatever you do is to be paid a certain amount where you're not going to feel resentful, or you're going to feel like that's a good amount, that's sort of what I deserve, that's a good amount for the amount of effort and the amount of time and energy or expertise. And it's a weird thing when you're trying to and really it's my first experience in doing starting a product like this, where you can really charge whatever, right? And see, whatever people are willing to pay, and trying to figure out what works. And for me, and I think Dan and I really agree with this, I way prefer a model that is going to be attractive for a lot more people and more affordable for a lot more people, rather than, I've had people who have offered to pay me a lot more than I'm charging for consults, for example, for like very, wealthier individuals who put lots and lots of money into Pokemon and want some like insider knowledge on specific trophy cards, for example. And I'd like to have a model where we're not just catering to just sort of like high-end, bigger amounts where we're charging a lot more just to a few people. I'd rather it be like everyone in the hobby who's interested in any sort of this deep dive can afford $10 a month, or almost anyone, and where this could be something that is really big and sustainable and is here for a long time. Like this is a Patreon that's here for many, many years. I mean, that would be the goal. But Dan and I don't know if it will succeed and grow into that, but we're gonna do our best to make something that is sustainable in that way. And we do that by it being worthwhile to people. and something that people feel good about being in and a part of, and not like they're getting ripped off, or that's, it's not good for them. So anything to add to that, Dan?
Yeah. And I mean, I think Jake would agree with me here. I'm fine with people not thinking it's worth it and choosing not to subscribe. I'm not like I said, I'm not going to be pushing this in every video. Go subscribe to me here. I'm going to give you thousands of dollars worth of value for only 10. We're providing an experience. The way that Patreon works, I mean, you can subscribe for $10 today and you could partake in the live on Sunday. But not only that, you could actually go back and you could look at the last 3 that have been done and posted. If it doesn't appeal to you, if you don't like it, I mean, you don't have to stay on in an ongoing basis. And it's not going to hurt my feelings if people don't find it worth it. I mean, Jake and I are going to do everything we can to try to make it worth it. And like we've said, we're going to take your feedback and we're going to try to turn it into something useful and valuable to everyone. But I'm not going to be like offended if people don't see it there, because I know that Jake puts out a lot of useful free content. I put out, I think, a lot of useful and interesting free content, and so do a lot of others. But yeah, I think this is a fairly unique thing. $10 a month. It's a couple modern booster packs, right? So,
yeah. Yes, it's interesting what people are willing to spend money on in this space. We were having that conversation before when, some overpriced things can sell out. In minutes for a huge amount, but yeah.
And Lord Bulbasaur asked, how long ago was the $5 tier closed? You closed that a few months ago, right?
Before... So I closed that before I started adding any value on the Patreon. So basically what happened was the $5 tier was just for people who literally supported the free content. So there were about, I think it was about 60 or so people who I just opened a Patreon and I didn't like promote it really. And I just said, I have a Patreon now. And if like you guys want to support, that's awesome. And these were people who had just been watching me for like a whole year. And I think, wanted to support me continuing to make videos. And so they just signed up for that. And I wanted to thank them back by not charging them anymore, basically. And so that's sort of where that came from. So I just sort of closed that, but I'm not going to play a game where I'm going to be like opening up more, like higher ones and then closing the lower ones. And then you feel like you have to stay, or you feel like you have like jumping to the next one. Like my goal is to be like super transparent, give lots of notice. If we ever add higher things, like we will give a lot of notice and a lot of explanation. And we have no plan on doing that. The only way that I could foresee having to raise the prices, if not enough people sign up for this in the long run, or if we like were to lose a lot of people, we'd either have to probably shut down the Patreon, just speaking realistically, or we'd have to raise the prices. And probably we just shut down the Patreon if people weren't interested in it, because it would just be so much work and effort of our time. And just to be transparent, I can make, as a private practice clinician, I can make like a couple $100 for 50 minutes of my time, right? For 45 minutes of my time. So, Dan, we have, we had fairly high paying careers or things that we left for this. So we're not here to like, it's just about making it. We're not here to like scam people. It's just about making it, doable, because honestly, I love doing this and I want to do this. I'm trying to figure out how much I want to do this. So I love being a therapist and I want to continue being a therapist and doing private practice work and clinic work and other sorts of work. But there is a balance there that I'm looking to find. And so that's what I'm going to try to figure out. And part of that is a financial balance. And so, I would love to spend 40% of my time on Pokemon or 30% of my time on Pokemon, but it's going to start small and then, it will increase if there's interest and there's a business here. So.
Yeah. And right now, short term, next year to 2 years, 6 months to 2 years, I'm hoping to be nearly 100% Pokemon, but I do have now that I'm doing my own thing, I do have other ventures that I'm going to be looking to in the future. So for this to remain a higher percentage for longer, it does need to provide some kind of additional financial incentive or support, I guess.
And I think what people, I had someone get really angry at me when I started the Patreon. Someone left this really long comment about how I'm a sellout and I'm what's wrong with the hobby, and people starting businesses is what's wrong with the hobby. And there's this sort of sentiment. And so, we get defensive, right? With these types of things. And like, I understand where those people are coming from. One thing I try to say is like, do your teachers work for free? Do your lawyers work for free? Do your like all these people in your life who provide you services, from entertainers to lawyers to it's like people can't just give their time for free indefinitely, because they'll burn out, they'll become resentful, they'll get too tired, and so I think it's a little bit of a sort of thing of like, this is a hobby and people starting businesses and hobbies. Like I get where that, if you get where I'm going at with Dan, where people are like, they don't want to feel any of that energy in this space, because for them it's just pure and just a hobby and these types of things. But I don't know. I think it's great if you can start a business in something you love that people also enjoy. So I don't know. It's worth trying, and we'll see where all this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions or anything? Mason, $10 a month. What a bargain. Such a troll. No, he's, I think, being fairly legitimate, but he teased me when I shilled for myself once. So awkward. Hisoka says, coming from the original sellout, you're not one. Oh, by the way, Hisoka, I need to get you on this channel at some point. It's been way overdue. I've been meaning to reach out to you for a while. Do you know Hisoka, Dan?
I do. I talk to him quite a bit on Instagram.
Yeah, because I know he's been in this hobby for longer than me.
Yeah, I years ago,
Yeah.
6, 7 years ago, I broke one of every EX box. So I was selling him some cards from those boxes.
So Pokemon Overflow says, so this is a hobby for you or a business? It's both. So it's a hobby. The collecting is a hobby. I actually, interestingly, I had so once a week, me and a number of my friends, we get together and we like have a discussion about topics. And one of our topics we had was like hobbies. Like, what are hobbies? And can you make money from a hobby? Interestingly, which brings up this like philosophical discussion of, can you make money from a hobby? Or if you start making money from a hobby, does it lose some of its, hobbiness or elements? I kind of think that I get. How would you answer that, Dan? Like, is being in Pokemon at this point for you a hobby, a business? Like, where are you at with it?
I mean, it started as a hobby, as a collector. I found my childhood binders. I wanted to fill those out. And then the engineer in me, kind of the value investor in me, I wanted to fill out those binders like the most efficient way possible, the cheapest way possible. And then I found that like, hey, I can buy these lots and flip some to get them even cheaper, maybe earn a little money to buy more and grow my collection. So I'm very much a business now, because again, this is my 9 to 5. This is my job.
Yeah.
But it's money is a weird thing psychologically to people, and Pokemon wouldn't exist and be everything it was today if it wasn't making the company that created it money. That's like a reality that some people might not like or whatever, but it's a fact. I mean, the distributors that the product passes through, the Pokemon Center website, the Amazon exclusives, the GameStop exclusives, all those companies are flippers, right? I mean, they're literally just buying it to sell it and make money, to employ the people that work there, to return money to their investors. It's all built on, I mean, that's just a fact of life, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's sort of like, well, in order for someone to create content for a long time for free, completely for free, they have to either have a high paying enough job outside of this that they don't like need the money from any of this, or they have to have like a lot of free time outside of their job that they can put into this. But like when you have, I mean, when we look down the line, like, these people who are like beloved in the community, whether it's, I mean, let's take, oh my gosh, whether it's like Leonhard or Real Breaking Nate or Super Duper Danny or PokeRev or, Frosted Caribou, right? Who made videos that really, I think, got to some of this. Like, they're running a business. Like, what they're doing is a business. They may not talk as openly as we're talking about it right now, or as obviously, asking people to support our business and talking about the psychology of it right now. But like, that's what's going on. It doesn't mean that they're bad people, or they're not really happy or passionate. I think probably they are. Probably why they're starting businesses in this space is because they really enjoy it, and they would rather do this and work in this or get some of their income from this rather than doing something else. So yeah, it's a little bit strange people's kind of feelings on these topics to me. A little bit strange. So I don't know, Pokemon Overflow, like if you were like, you know, let's see, Pokemon Overflow says, would you categorize your content as financial advice? No. It's not financial advice. I would say that it is exploring opinions and ideas and concepts are mostly broader around investing. So it's sort of like, people, peers or people who have an interest in something coming together and sharing opinions and having discussions about investing, about finances. But there's a big difference between that and being a financial advisor. A financial advisor, and my father's a financial advisor, and that's someone who actually will take your money and invest it for you and has a fiduciary responsibility to you to be putting that money in places that are best interest for you. We're a $10 a month, humongous amount of content, entertainment, discussion service where we're talking about opinions. So
yeah, more like an educational type thing. It's not invest in XYZ so you can get a return of this or to get but it's discussing why we buy what we buy, our thoughts. Literally the kind of to kick off the live every month, we do like a deep dive into something analytical that's just more of it's more like education. It's, hey, these are the trophy cards that are out there. These are the intended print runs. These are how many are in the pop report. And it's
similar to sort of like if you are talking to a friend and they ask you for your help, are you doing therapy? Well, no, because you're not posing as a therapist who is going to help them in some sort of profound way with their mental health problems. We're not posing as accredited financial advisors who are going to be taking your money and investing it for you. So I think that where some of those arguments go is like nobody can talk about anything ever in any context, because if you are, you're doing someone else's job and you need a license for that job. It is sort of where that goes to. So Ernesto Alvarez says, if I join Patreon, can I access all the past videos? You can. You will have all those immediately. Hisoka says Dan is underrated.
John Pokemon asked if is there a networking feature for buying, selling? So in the Discord, we do have like an in search of channel. We don't have any, like, no self-promotion, no selling on that. We don't want to become like a middleman selling platform, because there's just a lot of issues that can arise from that. But if you're looking for certain cards, you're free to post in there what you're looking to buy. If you're looking, and I mean, that just puts the word out there. If anyone has it and they're looking to sell it, they can private message you and potentially make connections happen like that. But so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so Pokemon Overflow seems to be like saying that so if you watch my content this year, Pokemon Overflow, the underlying message has been don't buy collectibles, probably because you might lose money and there's a lot of mania and I'm concerned and worried about people. So, and those are my opinions, and they could be wrong, they could be right, but not coming from a place of trying to scam people. So okay. All right, on to some other things. Do you see anything else there, Dan?
No, I'm really bad at going through the chat. I think we might have gotten everything.
Kareem says, I absolutely love the Patreon. I am happy to hear that. It is nice to hear some positive things sometimes.
There have been a few throughout. There's been some sprinkled.
I'm joking. Late night Jake is back and ready to strike. I had a stream one night where I was just like, I was talking with Mason and I was just like getting irritated with someone in the comment section, and I was not at my best. We were arguing about like Michael Jordan's or something. I still remember it because I just wasn't as patient, and I don't know, it was unnecessary of me to get upset. That's super nice, Jody. Jody has been a supporter of this channel for so long and just always says the nicest things. And I always see him saying such nice things to like everyone. It's just so nice. Whoever bought it's asking $2,300. So there's actually a Pokénomics Pokeball shop.
Yeah, I saw that. That came up on Google. Yeah. Eating establishment.
Yeah. So like I couldn't get the Pokénomics Instagram because they had it, for example. Mason said I was definitely at my best that night. No, people liked that I was I was sharing more of my straightforward opinions, but Mason, I try to be very careful with what I say.
Mason asked what kind of stuff goes on in the Discord. We mentioned earlier that for the Golden PWCC premiere, we hopped in voice and just had like a live chat as the auctions were closing. And most of those big auctions, if and when PWCC comes back, I'm usually there as like a buyer. So I intend to just hop in instead of watching my computer screen myself for 3 hours as these auctions close. It's just fun to hop in and chat with people. So that goes on. And then like any other Discord, there's just dozens of different conversations going on throughout the days.
Yeah. It's really great. Like that. Yeah. People are just getting to know each other. It's nice. And of course, all these things, right? There are lots of Discords and there are plenty of places to do that, and so it's just trying to add more and more value and more community for that $10, All right. Bulba Squad, I'm waiting for when, Bulba Squad, I'm sorry, I'm running late right now, but we'll talk soon. Bulba Squad said, I'm waiting for when Jake finally opens up online psychiatrist sessions. Going to need to address, that's not going to happen. That part of my life is completely separate from this part. Although I am waiting for the moment when they overlap, when the first client that I see in person is like, are you that Pokénomics guy? I collect Pokemon. It will inevitably happen at some point.
One of these days.
John Pokemon says, late night Jake isn't mean, just ready with the facts. Just like less patient, Jake. Like, yeah. Yeah, I wish I could have like some of my late night conversations with people back. So they were not some of my best conversations or streams. I was just tired and not focused. Hopefully we're not going to add this one to the list. Yeah, so I guess for people just coming in, you can ask us any questions about our Patreon. That's what we're sort of doing tonight, just for people to have a better sense of what it is, if it's something they might want to join. And we're going to be also answering questions. So if you watch this video later on, and this will also be on Dan's channel, if you watch this video later on, you can leave a question in the comment section, and we will be going through and answering all of those comments if they are appropriate.
Yeah, I'm still at the stage where I'm doing that on all my videos anyways, so I'll definitely be prompting my replies on the YouTube comments.
Part of why I brought Dan on. um, Auction live stream chats are the best. Wish more people did them for Pokemon. Yeah. Yeah, we wanted to do like a monthly PWCC one, but we'll see. Maybe we'll do it eventually, but
Yeah, I'm really interested to see when they return because it used to be several months back, right? It was one night and then it turned into two and then three. So
yeah.
I'm interested to see. I think they do have a few thousand items slated for October, so it might be a multi-night thing again. It'll be interesting though.
John Pokemon says, do members pick topics or do you? So far we have been picking the topics. Usually I talk about the potential topic like the month before and gauge people's reactions a little bit. Like if anyone's like, we really don't want that or we really want something else. I think that one thing we did in the beginning, which Rafi helps with, and maybe we can do again, is like taking polls about do people want us to talk mostly about vintage, mostly about modern, mostly about Japanese, mostly about English, or a wide variety, mostly about Pokemon, also some about non-Pokemon. So because we can kind of do all of that. So that's part of what it'll be. So Mason's asking you, Dan, you answered this a little bit before he got in here, but just sort of like what your background is, if you want to give it a spiel again for, because there are a lot more people now in the chat than before. So for those who don't know, this is Dan. Dan is joining has joined the Patreon. He's going to be helping facilitate and lead this month's analytics. So Dan, if you want to just talk a little bit about, I guess, for the people who are in the chat now, kind of who you are, and yeah.
Yeah, just to recap, been in the hobby, back in the hobby 7 years. Kind of a standard story. Re-entered, hit up set cards first. My goal quickly became to just collect every single set card, masters. Well, I don't do reverse hollows, but complete sets of every set from base to current. And once I essentially completed that, I also opened a box of every set, which kind of shows the collector in me. It wasn't the most financially prudent decision, but just to get that experience, opening every box was really a really great experience. And after kind of like English set cards, there's a finite, I mean, there's a finite amount of everything, but there's a much more limited amount. We're up to 80 sets or something now, but still a small thing to kind of complete and kind of feel like you've gained most of the knowledge on everything. And so once I got done with the English set cards, then I expanded into seemingly endless world of old obscure Japanese promos and trophy cards. And there's still so much more information out there that people uncover. You see a new guide go up on E4 or something like that, and I think that's the kind of specialized focused content that we're looking to provide in this Patreon too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we might bring some people in there to share those things, or we may share aspects of those things and then, just give them credit, but help distill that information in a way that's more usable for people than an article that gets kind of lost on E4, these types of things. So
Yeah, and the videos do exist on Patreon and they always will. You'll always be able to go back and watch the lives, but something we haven't built out yet and it's on my list to look into is the ideal way to host those documents so that people can just have them as a reference to pull up at any point. Because right now, Jake's got the ones that he's made, and I've got the one that I'm working on for this Sunday, and we just need to get that all centralized and accessible to everyone, which we
yeah.
will do shortly.
So you'll be able to like download the spreadsheets, for example, and keep them. And you could sign up for 1 month and download all of them if you wanted. It wouldn't be ideal for us, but we would understand if some people do that. But I think more than that, we're hoping to foster a group of people who want to come and want to talk and engage with each other, and for us to facilitate that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Kitchery asks, would it be cool if Patreon members get a chance to show off and talk about their collection, like share their video and show off some items? So definitely in Discord is going to be a place where a lot of that's going to happen. When it's relevant, people can show their cards during the live streams too, when or during the Zoom discussion, I mean, as well. But there, there'll be specific places. I guess Swami down here sort of answered that. Where you can put pictures of your newest items. And we also have a voice chat feature in Discord where people can hop in and have conversations and talk, and Dan and I will be in there from time to time as well. So, feel free to use that.
Yeah, and same thing with the monthlies. Definitely open to suggestions. There's a channel for suggestions, so feel free to leave them in there. I've got the alerts on, so if you post in the suggestions, I'll be pinged to my phone, and I'll be on it as soon as I can to look into it.
Yeah, Mason. Dan is very humble, but yes, Dan has tens and tens of thousands of sales.
Yeah.
From a variety of things, and has been doing arbitrage and flipping and on eBay outside of Pokemon too, right? Many things over the years.
Yep. My eBay, I think it goes back. It might go back more than 10 years. Yeah, I think like 15 years potentially. I know I forget exactly when I changed accounts over, but I sold coins back in high school. I did video games for a while. So I collect other things aside from Pokemon. The things that I want to get back into at some point, 95% Pokemon right now. But yeah, all that feedback is not graded slabs. Some of it's coins from a decade ago. I used to sell beer steins and like brewery type collectibles, and as recent as 5 or 6 years ago, I actually did more like what old school Pokemon does. Nick, I was doing like 200 plain white envelope shipments a week. I was selling play sets of playable trainers and versus seekers and battle compressors, max elixirs, all that stuff. So I've kind of, one thing I talk about a lot on my channel, kind of diversifying my business, and I do a lot of that stuff through Troll and Toad Evo right now. And what I focus on, like doing myself fulfillment and selling myself now, is just slabs.
Good night, Hisoka. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, you should come on the channel sometime if you'd like, Hisoka. It's that would be fun to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, that was me. You say booyah.
Yeah, I mean, and we're going to be like working with people who are going to help us, who are more tech savvy and other sorts of things as time goes on, to, and also the bigger it gets, the more we can also bring other people on, to try different things and help us out. So, but in terms of, yeah, organizing, whether it's the Patreon or the Discord, in a way that's really user friendly and works for people is stuff we're going to work on over time.
So John Pokemon asked, is there a way to share social media info via Patreon if we have a Pokemon Instagram? And then Pabmeister continued, that's a good idea. We could have some sort of document listing our Pokemon Instagrams so we can find everyone's easily. Yeah, I mean, if people want to connect on Instagram and stuff like that, I think we could find a way to just, I guess I'll have to think of the best way to do that in Discord or something, but.
Yeah. And we have to figure out like what is healthy and appropriate for us to do and facilitate, and what might not be. I'm not saying that wouldn't be, but it's sort of like, yeah, we just have to have discussions about sort of what, obviously everyone's free to interact and engage, on any platform with each other at any time. But if I want to be careful with like any sort of brokering deal, because like if things go wrong, right, like it's those types of things like we have to talk about. Like we don't want to we don't want to make like, we don't like if someone tries to scam someone in the group, we don't want people to feel like, oh, because they're in this group, they're definitely going to be safe. They're definitely someone I can, so then they go off and they do something. So I always think about like
Yeah.
scenarios and ways that like people end up getting hurt. So it's all stuff that we'll be thoughtful about. I know I'm jumping.
No, I mean, from the get-go,
Yeah.
one of the rules is no self-promotion, no selling.
Yeah.
If you're advertising your Instagram, does that cross into self-promotion? I guess it kind of does if your Instagram is I don't use mine personally to sell things, but a lot of people do. So yeah, I guess that's something we'll have to chat on a little bit further, but
Yeah.
we definitely don't want to get ourselves into a scenario where, like you said, oh, well, they've got this board of Instagrams and I assume they were all trusted people, send someone, friends and family. And yeah, we don't want anyone to run into things like that.
Yeah.
And Mason, I followed your channel. I followed Jake for quite a while and I've seen you. I usually don't catch the lives myself, but I always listen to the replay after, and I saw your name in chat a bunch, went over, and I follow your channel. I really like the content you put out. It's cool to see your recent tour of the shop. I didn't realize it was so big. Really cool setup there. I mean, I enjoy what I do and I like having the business I have, but it is completely online, and I don't think I would be able to have the time to devote to run a shop like that, but definitely huge props to the guys like you who do, because that's a great thing for your local community, people being able to go and experience all the hobbies together there in your shop.
You say they asked what your eBay name used to be. Was it Sid Steins?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's the one that a lot of old timers are going to recognize. I certainly know that name.
Zach Gemmett Pokemon still calls me by that a lot of times.
Yeah. So yeah. Dan, I almost bought a humongous collection off Dan. I almost bought his entire, this was a couple of years ago. I almost bought his entire PSA 9. We were probably going to be about $8,000 apart at the end of it.
Which in today's numbers, like what it is all worth is a tiny amount, but that was like 20%, right? That was rough. So
it would have been, I think I was going to pay you about 52,000. I was willing to come around there. And I think you ended at like 60,000, I think was sort of your hard line. And yeah, what's that worth now? 500,000, 600,000, something crazy.
In October, probably it's come down since. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad that was my best non-sale ever. Because fully my intent would have been, I'm going to rebuy that I'm going to sell it for 60 and I'm going to rebuy it for 40. And then immediately afterwards, the prices did one of these and it wouldn't have happened. The only reason I had it up, I had just bought a new house.
Yeah.
And so I didn't sell my house and then buy one.
Yeah.
I bought one that needed to be rehabbed, that needed work. So I was paying 2 mortgages. I was putting like $50,000 into the new house I bought. So that number would have just been like a nice number to make things a little bit easier for a couple months. And I would have never been able to reacquire it anywhere near that. So,
and the truth is, and what Dan and I talk about now is like, I put all of that money into Pokemon anyway. So it ended up working out for me too. And yeah, I wonder if we would be partners now if I had bought that from you.
We would be enemies. I would probably be like out of the hobby.
Would you remember? You'd remember that guy. He'd be like, you'd watch one of my videos one day and I'd be showing some cards and you'd be like, wait.
Those are mine.
Those are mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small world. Interesting way. Because I didn't even know right off the bat. I forget exactly when or how we realized that was the case, but
yeah, I don't remember how we realized it either. That is weird how we realized it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I put it together. I think I probably put it together because
I forget if it was before or after you had me on the channel, or during me. Or it was before, I think, because I
Might have
think
been like just before or during, because we definitely talked about it, I think, in that video. It's my
yeah,
yeah.
it was
So,
before or during.
yeah. But yeah, no, it's crazy, the deals that have gone down, the deals that haven't gone down, and it's yeah.
And Mason, you said you got to get into the Discord so you can post memes in there. We do have a meme channel, so yeah, there's definitely some good ones in there.
But yeah, I tried to buy a number of Worlds promos from you because I always knew you and Charizard Andrew.
Yep.
Were two of the guys who had a bunch of those for a while, and then David Person, who I bought some from. But were the ones that were coming up, and yeah, when I was trying to put together my full set, so I knew your eBay names very well before anyone knew me.
I still have a bunch of PSA. Not a ton of the stamped ones because most of those would have been sent higher, but I think I do have like a semifinalist there on bulk somehow. That one's going to get upcharged. Maybe it's a quarter. Definitely at least a quarter though.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see what my upcharges are going to be. What, like, how much are people so have you gotten things back you've been upcharged on so far? You have, right? I think we've talked about this, but I'm forgetting now. How much were you, like, what was the damage?
I got like 2 PSA 10 Melly, the Art Academy Mellies back a few months ago, and I paid like $560 each, I think. They upcharged me to the $600 tier.
And they upcharge you from bulk to that.
Yeah, I think it ended up being, it was a weird number. I think it was like 560. Like it didn't quite bring me to 600, but it brought me awful close.
Yeah.
And then
I'm kind of lucky. I think I got like all my like expensive cards in under the gun. So I think that like the big submissions I have right now are mostly like cards under $500. I'm not sure there are any huge cards. Interestingly, I got some of those like finalist stamps and other things back. They didn't upcharge me on this.
I had one sub,
$15,000 card, $20,000 card probably. Yeah.
They're so weird with the upcharges still, because like almost every sub I get back is 200 to 400 cards. So like every order I'm getting something upcharged. But there was one where I had like 4 PSA 10 Jungle Pikachus. They upcharged 2 of them.
Like, so, I mean, the thing is like, so for me, the way that I do it is that I actually like, I'll send in like my higher value cards. I often will send in not in bulk and at the higher ones, but then there are cards that have 0 sales data because they're so rare. And those I've sent in bulk before because there is no sales data. Yeah, they'd probably sell for more if they went up, but there's no sales data, for the specific card or a card like that. And so, and so that's also part of why I wonder if they can't upcharge me, because nobody, like, what's the value? What is the value of that card? That card hasn't sold. Crack Rock McCabe. Do you know who that is, Dan?
I bought a lot of he cracked a lot of boxes.
That's what Basic Trainer's saying here in the chat.
Yeah, I'm catching up. I bought a bunch
before my time.
I bought a bunch of non-hollow lots from him, just like minty. I mean, he broke the boxes, so I saw him in someone's chat recently. He's still around. He commented on one of my videos, actually. I forget if it was the podcast or what.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So he's still out there.
If you're watching right now.
Yeah. Yeah, leave a comment on this when I post it tomorrow if you're listening.
Oh, so people talking about the $50,000 Lugia that was sold. Yeah, I mean, the PSA 10, is that what it ended up going for? I didn't even double check. But that sounds about right. Cause I thought I saw it going for maybe like high 30s before the premium. I'm not sure where it ended at. Was that in golden or was it in Premiere? I think it was in golden. It might have been Premiere actually. I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
Either way, yeah. It's yeah, I mean that's what you have to be really careful of, like one really high sale. You know, is that there's really one huge outlier sale, that $120,000 sale that happened at like the height of everything. And then I think the next one sold at like 80 or whatever, 80 or 90. And then I think there was a BGS 10 that sold like 140, 150, which is, you know, but if you think about it, a PSA 10 selling for 50,000 when at the real height, it was probably like 80 to 90. Like there was sort of a one-off sale at 120. And then the next one, which was still part of the height, and I think a couple sold in the 80 to 90 range, and the next one selling into 50, you know, it makes sense. I mean, $50,000 is a lot of money for that card. You know, who the hell knows how to evaluate those things? Like it's whatever someone's willing to pay. I mean, it's I just know for me as a collector and as someone who really appreciates these things, like how much I would pay and then how much more I would pay for the Charizard versus the Lugia. And for me, the Charizard was always a lot more like to me, the Charizard was overpriced as compared to the Lugia, you know, and always was. But just for me as a collector, but to tell you like where they should be priced or what to expect, you know, on these $50,000, $100,000, $250,000, $300,000 cards, it's what's amazing is that they just keep going up for auction. I think that's what I'm amazed at. Like, it's such a gamble. Like, I would never ever throw a card in this climate. I would never throw a huge card like that up for an auction. There might have been 10 buyers who might have been interested in that, or 5 buyers who didn't even know it was being auctioned that night.
It definitely does create like if you throw a high buy now or best offer, there's not as much urgency, right? So I think it does create a sense of urgency, but like you said, it's a big risk. There's a huge range that you could land in, but
I mean, auctions to liquidate. Like, a lot of people liquidate. I don't know about you, Dan, but for me, auctions are not my strategy of making the most money. I don't know.
Mason's in Discord now.
Mason's in Discord? What's he doing over there?
You're a patron now, Mason. There you go. I gave you your role. Yeah, I think a big thing with that is like a lot of people have such a low cost basis. So it still is like playing with a lot of money, but when it's all just gains, I guess that's some people's mentality on it. For me, I fully don't understand the PSA 10 premium on certain cards because like I own that card in a 9 and it's a pretty clean 9 that I'm quite confident is better than some percentage of the 10s.
Yeah. I guess just for me, and you know, I'm not like Dan is a far more expert seller than I am. I mean, it's part of why it's nice having him on the Patreon and has a lot of experience in selling, you know, high end, middle, low in a variety of different ways. I think for me, I guess I'm just so patient. Like for me, the idea, like I'm never in a position, I'm not in a position where I like need to liquidate. Let me turn off my, sorry.
I was going to say your Discord's coming through.
Discord is insane right now.
Blowing up.
There's like 200 and some messages. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think, I guess for me, I viewed auctions as a good liquidation strategy. You know it, you know, particularly if you have no reserve it, it's like it's gonna be gone and you're gonna get your money then, as long as the seller pays. I I didn't like it as a way to like actually get the most money. Although, I mean, I think, obviously with PWCC, particularly during some of the height, there were some really high prices that people were getting with all of that attention and stuff there. So, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that, Dan? You might be responding to people right now or something. I see your.
Yeah, sorry, I was in the Discord.
um, but yeah, what do you like? What do you see as? And this is something we should definitely talk more about. But sales strategies. I focus, and I feel like my primary expertise really is on buying, sourcing, getting good deals, pricing things. But in terms of like selling, how to sell, particularly selling quickly, or selling in bulk, particularly when it's lower to middle end, which I don't have too much experience with. And we've talked. I know different strategies. Outsourcing some of that work to various consignment agencies, outsourcing it to places like Troll and Toad, Evo, these types of things, which I think all make a lot of sense. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's something I want to talk about a lot more on my channel. And I mean, if people have interest in the Patreon too, I can really, really delve deep into it there. But I think, again, whether you're a flipper, an investor, a business, or just a collector, I think it's relevant to you. Life can throw anything at you. Nobody knows. I mean, people who intend to take their collections to the grave, you never know what might happen. You never know.
Yeah.
You might need to move things. So I think it's prudent of even the most hardcore collectors who never want to sell. It's at least prudent to have an exit strategy. Yeah. And I've seen it many times, not just in Pokemon, but in like other aspects of life. People running into scenarios where they need to sell and they just have no idea how to do it. They end up getting really beat up on going to the wrong person, trusting the wrong people, and just not getting anywhere near what they could for it if they did it the optimal way. So yeah, I mean, there's Golden, there's Heritage, there's Hakes, the like true auction houses. Then there's PWCC Premier, there's Troll and Toad, there's TCG Player, depending on what you're looking at. Grading things, selling things raw, kind of like there's a lot of room for optimization. How to sell, when to sell, what platform to sell through. And like I said, I talk about it a lot on various YouTube videos, but it's spread out. I mean, it might be 80 minutes into a 2-hour podcast, or it might be in a 400 card PSA return video where I just happen to be talking about it. That's a lot of what.
These are the types of things too that maybe we can offer like a specific, in a Discord night, we could talk about selling one night. It's like these are the other types of things we might be able to do and offer at times. Like if there's interest, it's a lot about sort of interest in what people want. But certainly like Dan's channel is a great resource and a place that you guys should if you're interested in that sort of thing, should engage with. And Dan is legit and has been doing this for an extremely long time, and yeah, is someone that I would listen to on those types of things. So.
Pokemon Overflow said it sounds like financial advice.
What sounded like financial advice?
I guess optimally selling something.
Yeah, that's not financial advice. Sorry. So does that mean it's illegal for all of the YouTube videos which show you how to do anything?
Yeah, this is how to create an account on eBay and how you create a listing, and that's not real. That's education again. Education. Hey, all these platforms exist. Here's a history of what sold where and how it's sold. And I mean, I just bought a lot on Golden that was advertised as a complete set. It had a picture of the gold stars and 4 random hollows, and it was a master set that was mint. That is not the way to sell that lot. I bought it for a cheaper price than it would have gone had someone asked how to sell it optimally. Yeah.
I mean, Pokemon Overflow, if you really want an honest answer, right, which I already gave you one about like what is financial advice and what isn't financial advice legally. The other part is that these are not securities. So I could tell people exactly what to buy and I wouldn't get in any sort of financial trouble or any sort of legal trouble. I don't do it because I don't think it's comfortable or ethical, and I don't really believe in that. Now, interestingly, what happened in crypto is that crypto used to not be a security or not considered security, but then retroactively, the FBI actually went after YouTubers who were basically shilling and pushing up crypto without saying that they weren't financial advisors or without those disclaimers. And so it's important for everyone to be super careful, both from a legal perspective, but also from an ethical perspective. And, I don't think this channel has much to worry about in that sort of sense, but there are lots of channels out there that have tons and tons of like top 5 things to buy right now, under $15, under $50, under $100, under $1,000. Like those are channels which are specifically telling people buy this and you will make money. And they're saying I'm not a financial advisor, and it's just their opinion. And so legally they can do that, and they aren't going to get in trouble. And, I don't think that they should, to be honest, but like to be fair, you're kind of grasping at straws here. It kind of feels like you're just trying to pick a fight. I don't really know what I've done to you. I'm trying to just help people and be kind and nice. Not really sure what's happening in your head about what you're thinking is happening here. But JJ says, to be fair, a financial advisor is an educator. So financial advisors can do some educating, but actually a lot of people don't want to be educated in this sort of stuff. So they hire a financial advisor so they never have to learn about any of it. And then the financial advisor just takes their money and invests it for them.
They just manage the portfolio directly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they have access to your actual account. So for example, if I was your financial advisor with cards, I would literally have access to a bank account of yours, and I would be taking your money and I'd be investing it into cards for you. That's the model of a financial advisor. So that's not what any of these YouTubers are doing, is that sort of model. Now, a lot of people want to be educated by their financial advisors. And so that is something that financial advisors do sometimes, is they have conversations about, this is why I'm investing in this stock. This is why I'm putting your money there, et cetera, et cetera.
He wonders what my 1099 looks like. The IRS gets a copy of it. So, I mean, between me and them, we've got it all sorted. Yeah. I actually pay. I mean, I pay accountants, and I paid a tax attorney to consult with. I mean, I paid tax professionals and business professionals to establish everything properly on my end. So
yes, as do I. I pay money to a tax person to go through everything and tell me exactly what I need to pay.
Yeah.
And to the last question, I actually like to know also. So I actually asked my tax professional, what are the laws? What are the rules? Why am I paying this? At what point is this, for example, I like to understand, am I paying capital gains tax? Am I paying income? And it depends on how long you hold the item. So if you hold the item for over a year, for example, it can become capital gain tax depending on where you are in the country. And again, not CPAs here.
No.
But part of it, right, is I think being educated on that sort of stuff so that you're also aware, but your tax advisor, you give them all that accurate information and they sign their name and they do your taxes for you, and you're protected by that. They're the professional who's in charge of that. Josh Harris says, Jake, are you an INFJ? I am, actually. Myers-Briggs. Have you ever taken a Myers-Briggs test?
I did back in college, and I do not entirely recall my results. I'll have to look back because I keep everything. I have files of it somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm like a INFJ and then sometimes INFP, but mostly INFJ.
I'll have to make a note to look for that.
Therapy said, Rudy's new video title is Price Memory is Holding You Back. That sounds way more problematic than anything that Jake has ever said. Yeah, I think if the SEC starts going after anyone, I don't think I'm going to be at the top of their list, being one of the only voices this year telling people to probably be cautious. But again, Rudy is very clear to say, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not a financial advice for that very reason. So if this ever does become securities, the FBI can't go back and get him, and people can't sue him. So it's people's personal responsibility at that point to understand that. And he's not investing your money for you. You're deciding at the end of the day. But Josh Harris just went down the rabbit hole of Myers-Briggs recently. Can't stop trying to guess people's personality. It's I laugh out. Sorry, no worries. It's definitely like a rabbit hole. A lot of us go down at some point. It's interesting. I'm a psychologist. I certainly studied personality theory. Mason Berry says price memory is really a problem though, but probably the opposite way that Rudy is talking about. I would imagine, without seeing the video, that Rudy's argument is probably that people are stuck in the prices. The haters are stuck in the lower prices, the price memory of the past, and they're not adapting to the new prices. And so they're going to miss out on future gains. And he might be right for sure. So, I mean, I think that is a fair argument. It's half the argument though. There's a lot more to be said about that. That's a tiny portion of what I would say on a concept like that. But absolutely, one thing that can happen is people can be overly bearish because they don't. So for example, in this type of market, if you just stick to the prices and you don't actually look at the change in demand, you might not be able to adapt to the new prices. If just because prices have now stabilized at about 4 to 5 times growth this year for most items in the hobby, doesn't mean that it's going to come back down any further, because it's possible there's sustainable demand at 4 to 5 times the amount, than there was before. Right. And so I think but at the same time, price memory and understanding that sort of thing can also really, really help you like navigate and see how crazy, like, oh, why did this item over here go up 10 times while this only went up 3 times? And what happened there? Was there a narrative created around one and not the other that an influencer put, these types of things are all valuable for deep dives. Blitzfer is also an INFJ. Very nice. Fellow INFJs. Panic Peacock said, is there a platform or forum? Oh, and before I read that, Dan, is it all right if we end at 12? Does that sound good? In about 15 minutes?
Yeah, that's fine for me.
That work for you? Okay. So guys, we are going to end at 12. So if anyone has any more questions about Patreon, we're gonna answer those and what's the word? Prioritize those. But otherwise, we'll just kind of answer whatever questions you guys have for the last 14 minutes and just hang out. Panic Peacock says, is there a platform or forum I can find someone to take my whole collection off my hands safely? I have about 80,000 worth of sealed and graded. I'm unloading nearly everything to help pay for a house. So is there a platform? So do you want to start, Dan, with some thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, eBay, I don't know if you're on eBay already. You could throw everything. It's not great to throw everything together. I mean, I think people tend to like to move everything as an entire collection, but just know that the more of a mixed bag you consolidate together, and especially when you push the prices up really high, you lose a lot of buyers. Your buyer pool really narrows down. So 80K worth of sealed and graded. So yeah, if you want to lump it all together, you really narrow down your buyer pool, 1, because of the money involved, and 2, because of the diversity of products. You narrow it down to like resellers. I mean, a guy like me, I buy collections like that, but I buy them with intent to resell. So that might not be your optimal way to get like all the money out of it you can. But if it's where you don't have the time, if you don't have the reputation on an eBay account to sell those yourself, I mean, someone like Mason too. I mean, I'm sure Mason buys collections like that walk into a shop. Collection of that size, it's not an everyday type thing, but I know he had a video not too long ago where he bought like a pretty decent Magic collection. And so, yeah, I mean, again, that's kind of where we were talking about. There's, depending on what it is exactly, there'd be a lot of ways to optimize it. If it were me, I might sell some of that stuff on Troll and Toad. I might sell some on my eBay. I might consign some with PWCC Premier. It just really depends on what it is.
Yeah, and this is also something that, like, Dan, in the future, if you want to offer consults, you know, like, and this is not like, it might, and you can think about this, and if it's worth, but like, it probably would be worth way more than $50 for you to help someone kind of figure out and navigate what to do with that size, you know, of a collection. So, you know, I think that and that's something we can talk about privately, but like there are, you know, some of the safer, more public options. If you need to liquidate it, auction is going to be your best bet, because that's going to set a date where it will be sold as long as people pay for it, rather than just starting to offer it up, these types of things. If you were to do that without, and tell me what you think about this, Dan, but if you were to do that without any, like, I wouldn't just throw that up on a brand new eBay page. I would consign it with an auction house and or someone like TCA Gaming, Scott Pratt, or Z&G Emporium. That, you know, James is starting to do that too. I would look into that, and I would decide, do you want to do it with one of those guys? Do you want to do it with PWCC? Do you want to do it with Golden? Do you want to do it with Heritage? And you just want to familiarize yourself with the fee structures of all these different individuals and auction houses. In terms of the amount of exposure, it's also going to depend on the type of cards you have. So, for example, I think that Scott Pratt would be a place that I would more tend towards, you know, vintage Japanese trophies, kind of more oddball items. And not to say that you can't sell everything there and that he doesn't have a large following, and then he shows those on his channel and a lot of people see them. But, you know, I think that maybe if I had some really more, you know, noticeable items, I myself would probably go, you know, Heritage, Golden. I would have gone PWCC 100%. That was the place that I went. Now I'm not so sure, and that's this difficult situation. I don't know how you feel right now, Dan, about it, but for me, I was PWCC all the way for any items that were not over, you know, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 that I would sell singularly on, you know, Heritage or something like that. Or ideally, I would just sell them directly to a friend, you know, to someone using, you know, wire transfer but yeah, what do you think? What do you make of that? And what would you do in this current environment if you were in that situation? Understanding that, again, we don't know what's best. This is, you know, we're just sort of speculating on, you know, what we would do.
Yeah, I'd really split it up into, again, I don't know if is it $80,000 and it's 800 items, or is it $80,000 and it's like 10 items? Because it could be 2 boxes in 8 graded cards. And one thing that's kind of overlooked that I've heard of others doing, and I've actually done myself, you might be shocked what like Dave and Adam's Card World or Troll and Toad buy list some of those boxes for. I've seen scenarios where the boxes are selling for 9 to 10 grand through auction, and Troll and Toad has a buy list for 10 grand or something with no fees and a trusted. So that's just kind of like the knowledge, being in the hobby so much and being so engaged. That's something that I'd immediately look for to start. And then from there, yeah, I mean, PWCC.
So look, Panic Peacock has an Instagram and is fairly known and has a reputation there.
Oh, yeah, I do see that.
So, you know, I mean, that's definitely a place, you know, I don't know. I mean, there are consigners there also that, you know, I don't really know very much about the Instagram space. Honestly, my sales through Instagram, just people reach out to me because I have a platform and ask me if I'm selling, or I reach out to someone if I like a card that's on their page and we do a transaction. I've never tried to like intentionally move a lot of items through Instagram. So I'm not sure like what the speed is like. Have you tried to do that, Dan, at all?
No, interestingly though, Nick and I, we had Pallet Town
Yeah.
TCG on our podcast last night, and his page is kind of like almost a marketplace on Instagram where he advertises. You can advertise that you're looking to buy, looking to sell. So I guess kind of a shout out to him. I started following him a few weeks ago. I've made some sales from a wanted to buy ad that he had posted, and I'm actually back and forth right now with a couple different people on items that I saw put up for sale there. There's just so many platforms. There's so many different ways to buy and sell. So yeah, if you had specifics on what the items were, there would be more specific advice I'd give. But it sounds like you're, as you said, you're on Instagram, you're engaged with the hobby. You don't feel like splitting everything up to save the hassle, but at the end of the day, like I've bought a lot of collections and made a lot of money literally just saving them the hassle and getting paid thousands and thousands of dollars to do it. One little kind of flip deal that I'm doing, I bought a complete PSA base collection and I'm documenting it through my YouTube. Unfortunately, I have a PSA 8 Charizard that's at PSA for review.
Yeah.
I'll occasionally get a message on Instagram, hey, have you heard back on that yet? Like some people are closely following along. It's been with PSA for like 6 weeks, sent on the $300 tier for review, and they've still not gotten to it. But yeah, so I guess
That's
I kind of
very frustrating.
yeah, I went off on a little bit of a rant because I'm frustrated with that. But my point was that I bought that collection from somebody who didn't want to deal with the hassle of selling the cards separately. But even if they didn't want to sell 103 cards separate, they could have sold the 16 hollows separately and then sold all the non-hollows together, and they would have done much better. Or just simply shipped it all to PWCC or TCA Gaming, someone like that, ZNG, as you said. And I think they would have done a lot better because each one of those 103 items would have had a much larger buyer pool individually. Whereas not everyone has $25,000 to buy a mixed lot that almost anybody's going to have to resell some of it because, I mean, there were PSA 4 hollows, there were PSA 10 non-hollows, and it was all over the place.
All right. So last call for questions about the Patreon tonight. Last call on that. Let's see. Anything come up that you saw?
Somebody, Beardmander Pokeden said it's all ZNG auctions now. I just sent him some just to kind of support his new venture there, and he's a friend. So
yeah. We both love James and really want him to succeed.
It's a great service because not everyone has the experience with the eBay. Not everyone has the history of all the positive feedback and all that. And then he's got the platform too to kind of show the video on his channel. And
yeah, I also just really trust, like I trust him a lot and his wife a lot, just having interactions with them. And to me, that goes a long way of not that you have to worry that any of these people are going to like run off or whatever, but that I think that they're going to care about getting good value for you. And they're not just going to like, you know, like I think that they care a lot about customer service and answering everyone's emails and being engaged and all that sort of stuff. And I just think that goes a long way. Like they do the little things that require like a lot of work. So yeah. And I think as a community, it's the type of thing too, that I just want to support them because they have given a lot. And, you know, James has given a lot and Lauren's given a lot to the community and, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Mason actually made a good point. I think he was addressing towards my comment. He said, right, middlemen make thousands off the deal, but your sales might be thousands more because of it. That is a good point. And I think sometimes I tend to like undervalue or underappreciate the value of my reputation and all that. I feel like I'm a small guy, and relatively speaking, I am compared to a lot of the others, but still, just having an eBay with a lot of sales history and positive feedback, that's something not everyone has. I mean, so yeah, I guess I discount too much a little bit my ability to sell things a bit higher towards market than a smaller account might.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it can be that combination. It's both that, as you said before, the person doesn't maybe know how to sell it. So you do. So you're making some money just off of like knowing how to list it, what to put in the, what to name it that's going to actually, so people can actually find it, what type of picture to put up, and you're just going to take care of, even things just like shipping it safely so that it doesn't get damaged in shipping and it arrives safely there, and dealing with any customer service that might, where the person's anxious about it or wants a tracking number. And, there's a lot of like little things that go into it that someone who has no experience, like because you've been doing it so long, it might all feel comfortable and easy to you. But for someone who has no experience, it's like, it's a foreign world. Maybe have never sold anything in their whole life to anyone. There are a lot of people like that. So I think understanding all that service that you're providing, honestly, it's true. It being a financial advisor, a good portion of it is just like reducing people's anxiety. It isn't even necessarily that you have like all the answers or could do such a much better job than everyone else or make them so much more money. It's also just to ease that anxiety, to have someone who's experienced and isn't going to lead you too far astray with it. Hey, Sakari, nice to see you. No questions. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, Mason says, yeah, a lot of people think they lose a ton by selling to big stores. Most places are very aggressive. It's hard to find the real deal sealed stuff. Yeah, I mean, and for me, when I'm thinking about how much my collection is worth, I evaluate different parts of my collection very differently. So I value my bulk very low. 20, 30 cents at best on the dollar, anything that's under like a 20, like 20 or 30 or $40 card. It's part of why I cringe, to be completely honest, and why I don't make those like top 5 things to buy under $10, because to me, those cards, no one, like a store is not going to buy, like if you have 1,000 $5 cards, you're in trouble. Like if you want to get rid of all of those at good amounts, probably, I mean, you could probably sell them on Troll and Toad and they can do that work for you. And the truth is the market is getting more and more liquid, and there are probably ways to get out of that now that you weren't before. But like, part of understanding how to sell is also understanding how to correctly evaluate your collection, even if you're not going to sell. And so understanding that certain items you have, like there are certain items that I think I could sell at an all-time high right now because they're so rare, right? And so I actually value them at higher than the market. And then there are other items that I value at much lower, than the market, because I think if I really needed to sell them, like there's so many of them on the market and it's difficult to sell, and I'm paying a decent percentage if I just want to get it for, sell for shipping, et cetera, et cetera. So Mason made it, a good video that sort of illustrated that point from a buyer's perspective of not all things. I'm much more interested in your expensive booster box or PSA card than I am in buying 10,000, dollars worth of like penny cards. And then I have to like list all of those and sell all of those and move all of those. And it's a tremendous amount of time and effort and work. And so I'm going to be looking to make 90% on you, these types of things. So
we did get one question. Pat Meister said, hope I can make it to the Sunday Zoom. If we DM you a question, does one of you review it prior? We will put together the questions. They can be asked in Patreon on the post, or they can be messaged in Patreon. And then we'll assemble them all and take a look at them before the live. And if anything like needs external preparation, we'll do a little bit of that going in so that we won't just say, oh, I have no idea. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, we try to do that. I think it's happened before where I've tried to find answers and I haven't been able to find them. So that does happen, but we will attempt.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't know the answer to that. That's a very difficult question. I looked into it, but I would much rather get that as an answer than something just made up on the spot that may not have any. And I think some people tend to just answer everything as if it's an absolute, what I say is gospel, it's fact. And I very much am comfortable saying I'm not extremely knowledgeable on that. And I mean, I think there's a lot of times where I might defer to you, and hopefully there's some times where you could defer back and one of us
Absolutely.
could tackle it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or someone in the group, in the discussion, in the chat, particularly when we have some knowledgeable people there, who are hanging out in the Discord and joining. And we also have some other plans potentially down the line to be doing some roundtables with other really knowledgeable creators on certain topics. So those are things that are going to be, I'm only saying it now towards the end of the video because those are things that I think are really, I would not be paying for those things right now. Those are things I think is going to take a long time to build in and figure out. But yeah, on the schedule. So I guess we'll end it there, unless do you see anything last minute thing, Dan?
Nope, I think we got everything.
And again, just one last time for those of you who are jumping on now, because I do see, like someone mentioned in the comment here, your average player, that they're just jumping on now. So this was about just our Patreon and giving people a chance to ask us questions about it. I know you're just jumping in now. If you do have questions, please leave them below after this video is done. This will also be on Dan's channel. And we will do our best to sort of answer them all there. Okay. So I think that's everything today. Any last minute thoughts, Dan?
No, I think you covered everything, and I'm looking forward to Sunday for our live chat.
Sounds good. And we appreciate so much the support. This is awkward for us to do. At least for me, it's awkward to advertise or to promote. So I really appreciate people supporting us and finding value and giving these types of things a chance. And I'm really happy that people, enjoy this content. So thank you all so much for all of that, continued support. It means a lot.
Definitely.
And Dan and I will see some of you this Sunday for the live stream, and we'll see everyone many times, because both of us will be on our public channels all the time.
Yeah.
For the foreseeable future. So, all right, take care, guys.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Okay. Okay, so we have stopped live streaming now, I believe.